Adam's interrupting me as usual, but that's fine.
Sorry.
Because I'm used to it. You're with Sabrina from Agile World and Adam and I from Arabica. We're going to talk about measuring the benefits. For most people, in my experience, where they fall down is that they start off without understanding what they're trying to achieve. They don't know who their customer is. They don't know what the value is they want to give them. They don't know how they're going to deliver it or what it looks like. And they sort of like jump in with both feet and they paddle along until it all collapses and tatters around them. In the previous session, we talked about benefits and why it's important to start by articulating what benefit you want as an outcome of the change you make, whether that's at an organizational level, a personal level, a team level, or a product level. And the best way to understand what it is you're trying to deliver and how you're going to measure it is to articulate the benefit you want to achieve as an outcome as a measurable statement. And by defining your value as a statement, it does several different things. It lets you say who you're making the change for, the type of change or the direction of travel of the change. So is it a positive impact? Is it a reduction in something? What it is you're trying to change, the value this gives your customer or business, the time to market, i.e. when do we think we can release something to our customer, and then the time to value, when will we see a return on that? And a lot of people don't start off by defining these things very accurately. It's like, oh, we want to make a change to the software. Okay. And they go away and they paddle around and then they come back and they're like, yeah, we changed the software, but nobody likes it and it doesn't do what we wanted it to anyway. So by starting off with these well-articulated statements of value, it kind of gives you a fighting chance to deliver something that's meaningful as an outcome of the change, whether that's a transformational change at organization level, whether that's a change to product, or whether that's change to people or teams. What does everyone else think?
I mean, I would say that the organizations that I've worked with that have put thought into measurable statements at whatever level they're working at, whether that's at the top or mid-tier leadership or at team level, they have always fared better and been able to change more smoothly or use more agile ways of working more smoothly than those who haven't. And it's because they've got something to focus on and they've got something to say, okay, you know, we want to try this experiment. And they can say, well, is it going to result in this measurable statement? Is it going to support this? Is it going to do something valuable towards this measurable statement? And if the answer is no, then they don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly useful.
It makes a huge difference. Sabrina?
It's also because, as you mentioned, it's going through what the value is. It's back to what we said earlier around the fact of communication. And the first thing you will get that people will push back is the first question. I've got it. It just popped into my head. The first thing you'll get back is, well, we're agile, so we don't have to write things down.
We don't do planning. We don't do this. We don't do that. You're agile. It's a hippie love fest.
Apart from those plans.
Apart from the roadmaps and everything.
Apart from those roadmaps.
But it's actually clearly defining the value. Because how many times have you gone into a meeting or gone into a session and trust my pup to want to come indoors while we're doing this. And everyone's gone in with different ideas of what the definition is. Yeah. How many times have we actually in general gone into a meeting and all kind of thought we're doing a completely different thing to what we're actually doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Writing the value and your measuring statements kind of states the ground where we are. Where is it now? Where is it where? What's the future? What's the North Star? It kind of states down so everyone's on the same page.
Like that classic illustration you see if you Google, why do we write stories? And it's three people standing looking at a board, and out of head number one, they're picturing a square, head number two is picturing a triangle, and head number three is picturing a circle, and they all think that they're doing the same thing. And if they haven't articulated the value, i.e., is it the circle, the triangle, or the square, as a measurable statement, by when and how, then they have no chance of the outcome actually giving the person what they want.
It's giving the full story and the picture.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's I'm thinking about leaders that I've worked with, and I'm thinking about some of the things that we've done, and actually envisioning the future, thinking about the end state. What is it that you want to be? What is it that you want to have achieved? What does that look like to the rest of the world? What does that look like to you internally? What does that look like to your teams? Understanding that end state, that future that it might look like, is really important to creating these measurable statements, because it gives you a target.
It's actually therapeutic as well. If you think as leadership, as we've mentioned earlier, you've got so many different things running through your head. You're basically catching multiple balls. But then if you're dealing with multiple questions that are coming at you because people are not at the same state, being able to articulate this means that you can then have more trust when the build is going on, or when the product development is happening, whatever that product is. That you've been able to articulate, lots of big words today, articulate, where the end goal is, what you want to actually see. If I turned around and gave you an example of, Belle, I want you to go buy me a car. And if I just left it at that, and sometimes leadership, sometimes they don't actually have, that's all the time that they actually have, is to kind of say that. What car would you buy me, Belle?
By the power of psychic ability, I would know that you want a really old, slow car that's not white and doesn't have red seats and just putters along quietly without roaring. Yes. That's the sort of car, totally.
You blatantly don't know me there. I haven't articulated it that I want a supercharged, bright white, in-your-face car that when I go past, it goes, because that's my end goal. But this scenario, I know it sounds silly using that description, but actually it happens in organizations all the time.
Yeah,
it does.
And we've all seen it happen in organizations. It's like, go and be agile. Okay, I'm agile now. Oh, not that sort of agile, different agile.
Different agile, yeah. You're doing stand-ups, but you've got to carry on being matrix managed, siloed specialists. Get those 15 stand-ups in a day.
Yes. So
I think, there's a lot about measurement. There's a lot of things that you need to measure things in agile environments, and you need to measure things when you're trying to undertake more agile ways of working. But you have to measure the right thing, and you have to understand what those measures are for. And if you put value and the delivery of value at the heart of everything that you're doing, and you can understand where the value lies, from organizational benefit that we were talking about yesterday through to measurable statements, all the way down to a story, and you have that golden thread, it's going to be far easier from a leadership perspective for you to understand what pivot you need to make and why.
Yeah.
So allows 2 seconds. It also allows that when your team of value slicing, breaking their work down into chunks,
it's true,
you can actually find out if your actual want is actually possible. So if I turned around and said I want a rocket launcher on my car, now we know it is possible due to James Bond. It's not possible for a normal human being. Well, we think it's not possible unless you work.
Things are possible if you've got the money, Sabrina.
Anything's possible if you've got the cash. But there's many scenarios where someone in leadership has got this amazing idea and they do articulate it. Well, actually, if they did articulate it and said what the value is, when it gets broken down, then your people that are going to do it can actually tell you if it's actually possible, because they're on the same mindset, instead of having a lot of people just nodding and smiling and go, yeah, we can do that, because in their head they think they can, because they think they know what you're thinking.
Yes, Lida. No, what was I going to say? Yeah, and the great thing about parking value at the center of everything you do is that many of the sort of bigger picture agile ceremonies, for want of a better word, terrible word, agile events, call them what you will,
I like
link
ceremony.
themselves to this. Things like quarterly business review, things like lean portfolio management, these things at the higher leader level bring that focus, because everything is a discussion about how is this valuable to the business? Do we continue with it or do we cut it and move on?
Yeah, it links in really well to the communication strategies that we were talking about in the last segment. You know, if you have empirical data and if you have a flow of value that runs from organizational benefit to story and back again, and if you've got things like you say, you know, lean portfolio management, QBR, quarterly planning, it's so much easier to create a story around the work that you're going to undertake and the challenges that you're going to have with that work and the value that you might be able to release if you resolve those challenges, than it would be without that measurement, without that measurable statement that helps you get there. And that kind of links into showing the value of change, going back again to the previous one, and changing the culture and improving the flow of idea to value.
You're making me giddy with all this up and downing.
I know, I'm sorry. You should have let me have control of this.
No, we shouldn't.
Until next time.
Ta-da!
Bye.